douche, 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 douche.
Behind the curtain.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Men Behind the Curtain, the podcast about everything, nothing, all at once. I am Pitt.
I'm Eli. How's it going, everybody? As you can see, we are remote again today. Again, we have to participate in capitalism too, unfortunately. So sometimes we have to finagle and move things around, based on the day. But we're here. We're still doing it.
Yep, and I'd just like to go on record and say that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the dumbest fucking cunt to ever walk this earth.
Please tell me you saw the video that I made off of. Did you see?
Dude, I can't with her. I really can't. I mean, I've never come across somebody that is that fucking stupid. I mean, literally never come across anybody that fucking stupid.
That's almost high praise, but it's not praise. So for those of y'all who didn't see it, she put up a tweet. This was right after Milton, I think. Oh, yeah. And also because we are remote and we're actually doing this earlier in the day, me and him both have our coffee, and I've of course got my Batman mug here. It's heat activated, but all the stuff went away, but it's still warm. But anyway,
Steel curtain, baby. Steel curtain.
But getting back on track here, we're going to post up a picture of it. She made a tweet that basically said that the government is 100% controlling the weather and that we are paying for it via our tax dollars. And I replied to this on Twitter. Of course, she's never going to see it, but, it was still funny. And I just put up the words, "You absolute moronic cunt." And the thing is that I'm like, bitch, you are in Congress. You are part of the government. You are them. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, what's really fucked up about that is the majority of those people have gone and received higher education, and I don't think it's done anything for her. Maybe she sucked her way to the top. I don't know. She looks like she's, fucking pretty much drowned on about like 20 gallons of cum in a single fucking night.
Here's the thing, and this is what I wonder about specifically her. Her and Donald, but we're talking about her. Is I don't know if she's actually that dumb or she knows that her base is that dumb. And honestly, I'm wondering it could be a little bit of both.
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it past people to play up because, I mean, we see Donald doing it all the time. He's playing up to his followers, his worshipers.
Speaking of which, since we're on the topic, we're talking politics at the moment anyway. Did you see any of what happened when he was in Detroit?
Where he basically insulted the city of Detroit right to their faces. And then Kamala came out and was like, by the way, the Kamala ad that came out like really about like probably 10, 15 minutes after the fact was just absolute brilliant.
Yeah. And once again, for anybody who hasn't seen it, so he's sitting there, he's at the Detroit economic or whatever it is. And he's like, well, if Kamala wins, and he refuses to pronounce her name correctly. He fucking refuses. But if Kamala wins, the whole country, it'll be like Detroit. While he is in fucking Detroit.
Yeah.
And not only that, so somebody posted another video prior to that. This is at the very beginning. This is when he first walks out. They're playing, I don't remember who made the song, but that Proud to Be an American. And he's just standing on stage, just weirdly swaying side to side. And a lot of us think that he was actively shitting his pants at that moment.
He probably was. I mean, and if going back to my DJ days serves me well, I think it was Lee Greenwood that recorded that song. But
makes sense.
It's also country, and I really don't get into too much country.
I almost said Springsteen, but I'm thinking of Born in the USA. That was Springsteen.
Which is an anti-war song, and the Republicans, was it Reagan? It may have been during Reagan's second term or something like that. They were using that as an intro song, and it's like, dude, don't you get it? It's an anti-war song. It's an anti-America song.
I love it because it always goes right over their head. There's been a trend on TikTok lately of them, of conservatives. They're dancing to Green Day's "American Idiot," and it'll say at the top,
Songs about them.
"Why aren't you voting for Kamala? Don't want to be an American idiot." I'm like, bitch, did you listen to any of the rest of the lyrics? Because it's not
Yeah.
in your favor.
Well, no, because the song is clearly about them, you know. So go ahead, keep going at it. I mean, just like I've seen locally, the gerrymandering signs for issue 1 that's coming up on the November 5th ballot for the area we currently live in, where they're saying vote no on number 2 to end gerrymandering. And it's like, no, a yes vote is what's going to end gerrymandering, because the Republican Party decided to go in and change the wording of the ballot. So it makes it very confusing for the voters.
Well, that's like last year. It was last year when it was on the ballot for abortions in
Yeah.
Ohio. They were deliberately misleading about their advertisements because I literally saw vote yes and vote no signs to protect parental rights or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like they were intentionally being they were obscuring it on purpose. And of course, for those of y'all who are not aware of this, Ohio voted to what's the word I'm looking for? We voted in favor of it. We wanted to cement it.
Yeah.
And they try to be like, "Whoa, nah."
Well, it's like even before that was on the ballot, they were trying to come up with a way of, it was the majority vote or something like that. There was another special election ballot that couple, like around May or June or something like that, where they were trying to get, you need a certain percentage of votes to.
It was like 60.
Yeah.
Like it was not a simple majority rules, like 51% is automatic victory. No, they tried to bump it up to like fucking 60, 65% or something like that.
Yeah.
And guess what? When we voted statewide, it passed at like fucking 60 some odd percent. So,
yeah.
First off, we voted down that motion about raising the requirements, which is really fucking weird. That's not a representative government when literally a majority can still lose. But even if we had passed that motion, that particular one, they still would have lost.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's Ohio. Everything here is fucked up as it is. So,
Look, here's the most fucked up thing is, so Mike DeWine is our governor, and surprisingly, he does get shit right now and then.
yeah.
I honestly think, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me, like during COVID, I don't think he did a terrible job considering the cards that he was dealt and considering that we were all low on information. He did his best to try to compromise. Was it weird that we would walk into a restaurant, you could take your mask off at the table, but you have to put it on when you walk? Yeah, it was fucking weird. But you know what? It was a compromise. It kept businesses open. It gave people a place to go, and it tried to keep people safe. And if you were really ultimately that concerned, just don't fucking go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really made karaoke interesting. I mean, they had the UV cleaner for the microphones and stuff like that after every performance, and they switch them out because I think you had like 3 microphones up there at one point in time.
We had 3 mics, but one was his mic because every now and again he would give us some background vocals.
Yeah.
Which
yeah, Kirk was he's politics aside, he's a pretty cool guy.
I think the first time that I ever noticed him doing that, I was doing 3 Doors Down, Not My Time. And then when you get to the bridge of that song, he was like, "There might be more than you believe." And then he kicks in behind me. I'm like, "Oh, okay." It works. That's how the song goes. It's like they layer it right at that part. So the background vocals was cool. I just didn't know he was going to fucking do that.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't do background vocals for me on More Than a Feeling by Boston because it was too high.
Actually, he could have done that was probably too high too. But he could have potentially done background vocals for me on when I did Africa.
Yeah.
Because like I told him up front, I'm like, y'all, this is a crowd participation song. I really need y'all to make this work.
Yeah.
But also one other thing I was gonna say just about DeWine and just how fucked Ohio politics are. You probably remember this. It was last year, I believe. So our state, not Congress, because I don't know what the lower levels is, but like they had passed something. It was for a ban on affirming care for transgender students, and it was
Mhm.
also allowing for trans athletes. Now, the trans athletes, I don't have enough information. I cannot make that argument. I do think that everybody should get to live their best life, and I also think some people live for the competition. So just because you identify a certain way should not exclude you from that competition. I will speak to that personally. I wrestled in high school. There was no better high than winning a match. Like there's not. And but sports aside, I don't see anything wrong with the affirming care. And most of the time the affirming care is just how you cut your hair, how you dress, how you like to be addressed. A lot
Yeah.
of times it doesn't go further than that. And DeWine vetoed the ban. He was in favor of it, or at the very least, he was not in favor of the way it was presented. He vetoed it. So that was actually a win for that community, and they overrode him. And mind you, for those of y'all who don't know, DeWine is a Republican. So when I say that Ohio politics are fucked, this is what I'm talking about. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to backtrack a little bit because we mentioned Detroit. Sorry, Tigers. I'd like to say congratulations to my Cleveland Guardians who have reached the ALCS, going to take on the Baltimore Orioles. So there's going to be a good series right there. So the city of Cleveland right now riding on a high. So congratulations to them. Detroit Tigers, better luck next time. I do love the Tigers. My favorite baseball player of all time is Lance Parrish. So if somebody knows Lance Parrish out there, tell him, come check this out. This guy loves you. You signed my catcher's mitt back in 1984, 85, somewhere around there. You guys were playing in Cleveland, and that's back when the home team used to be on the first base side and the visitors were on the third base side. And I purposely made my dad, who was a diehard Cleveland's fan because he grew up in Cleveland, I made him sit on the third base side just so I had an opportunity to meet Lance Parrish. So again, Detroit Tigers, wonderful season. Congratulations to how far you made it. Better luck next year, and throughout the future. Guardians, excellent job. Can't wait to see more great things from you. So there we go. We got my baseball out of the way.
I will. The majority of the baseball that I have ever watched in my whole entire life is usually in a movie. But that being said,
Probably Major League.
And that's exactly where I was going. Is that if I was in charge of the Cleveland Guardians, as they're now called, I would forever and always, my pitcher would walk out to Wild Thing. And if you know, you know.
Clausa did it.
Did they?
Yeah, Clausa. He came out to Wild Thing the other night as he was coming in to close the game.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So, all right. Since we have some randomness all over the place, let's continue with the randomness. We're going to go to the catastrophe. And I don't even know what this fucking means. Code switching.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So that
I don't even know what it fucking is.
You wouldn't. Code switching essentially is when you have usually minorities and most predominantly black people. We switch up the way that we talk based on who we're speaking to.
Oh, you mean like we were talking about white people at the restaurants or bars and stuff like that?
Yeah, or again, like Uncle Phil on that episode of Fresh Prince, or Cheerio. Like that's quite literally code switching. And so yeah, like the way, and those of y'all who know me, you know this is probably about the most natural that I talk. However, when I'm with certain friends, it will go, so it'll go, I guess, downhill a little bit. I grew up, I graduated from Dayton Public Schools. I Dunbar, '05, go Wolverines.
I'm not even going
But
to mention my school or graduation year, so there's no.
but so yeah, like I could talk like, the most. I don't want to say ebonics because that has a really bad connotation, but y'all get what I mean
Street.
by that.
Just call it street.
Yeah, and I've actually, you know what? I'll do a better way. If y'all have ever seen Kings of Comedy, you remember Bernie Mac's set. He was like, "You go around a group of black people, you hear the word motherfucker 42 times, but it makes sense like a motherfucker." That's how I would talk, and I say motherfucker just that much. However, I can go into a job interview and speak as articulately as possible and get the job. That
Oh
is code
yes, I
switching.
eat ham sandwiches with mayonnaise.
My wife has called me a chameleon before because of the way that I would blend in with different crowds, and honestly, I would do it without even realizing that I was doing it. I It wasn't until I heard the term code switching in probably my late 20s or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. I did it naturally, but I figure, hey, if I'm biracial, I may as well fucking play it to my benefit. Like I'm not necessarily hiding it. I can't. Um, but if this helps me to get a job and better provide for my family, then fuck it. I'll play the cards I'm dealt.
So the way I can see it, so now that I know what code switching is, basically we'll just go into just be your fucking self.
I will say I do like that the world is mostly getting a little bit more understanding about that. When I was in my late teens, early to mid 20s, I did not want a tattoo below my elbow, which you see, I don't give a fuck about that now. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that some people, it would make you unhireable in the business world. That's no longer the case. People don't care anymore. And you know what? Even if they did care, I am perfectly comfortable in a long sleeve button up shirt. I don't care.
Yeah.
I won't get a neck tattoo, but that's just a personal choice. And I won't get a face tattoo. Face, and there are certain times where I think it matters more than others. If you're a bank teller with, two, three teardrop tattoos, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but I understand how it's a bad look.
Yeah, I honestly I think certain face tattoos and neck tattoos are reserved for specific demographics, such as like those that are incarcerated or those who have been incarcerated or those who are affiliated with certain organizations. So I do know because I watch a lot of the tattoo TikToks and they talk about like tattoos that you should not get. You shouldn't get this crown or you shouldn't get these numbers or things of that nature. So because a lot of them do hold a certain connotation within certain organizations or demographics.
Well, that's like at one point I was considering, so I still want like just a whole bunch of fucking nerd tattoos on my left arm. Like I still want a Mortal Kombat logo up here, not the dragon logo. It's the Lin Kuei, which is Sub-Zero's
Okay.
clan. I wanted that. I love it because it's an obscure thing. If you're a fan, you know what that symbol is, but if you're not, then it's going to look a little different.
You should
I
see my
want
brother-in-law's tattoo. He's actually getting tattoos done at Legacy Tattoo in Springboro, just down the road. And he's getting his nerd tattoo on. He's got like Skeletor and some Dragon Ball Z and a few other things going on. And he's just getting it sleeved all the way up. So
nice. Like I want to get the writing for the One Ring, Lord of the Rings. I want to get that done. I thought about a Deathly Hallows. I've pulled back a little bit since we found out that Rowling is a cunt. But she wouldn't get money for me getting that tattoo, so I might still do it. And I wanted a way to combine it. And actually, the latest thing that I have thought about is that the writing for the ring. God, that's fucking bright. Um, Hang on. Let me let me make that full screen.
yeah, you're
That's
white today.
better.
There you go. I was gonna say you're
That's
white
better.
today. Now you're not.
So I want to get like what I'm thinking about. The latest design I've thought about is it'll be the Deathly Hallows, but the circle, the Resurrection Stone, would be the writing for the ring. That might be a really good way to combine the
Ooh.
two.
Yeah, that'd be a good combination. So,
But where was I going? Oh, yeah. So I thought about getting a supernatural tattoo, and the most common um, symbol for that show is it's a devil's trap. It's a 5-pointed star. But I know people are going to think that it's a pentagram, even though the pentagram is a flipped upside down star. So, but the only reason I'm not sure if I want to get that tattoo is I don't know if I want to explain myself over and over and over. It's fucking annoying.
yeah, well, I mean, the pentacle, which is a witch's symbol in paganism, a lot of people is like, oh, that's a double star. It's like, no, it's not inverted, but it's just people not knowing anything or any better. And the next one is, oh shit, it's a long one.
Mhm.
What three things would you want to have on you if you were ever stranded in the wilderness?
So I would like to say a bow and arrow, but I have never really used one, so I know my aim would be shit. Um, I actually, you know what? I was on one of my other social medias the other day. This was for those of y'all who know it, it's the more a spicy social media. Somebody asked this question, and one of the things that she put up was there was a fire starter, which is definitely a good one. But in
Yeah.
her question, you could only have one item. There was a fire starter, a machete, and I forget what the third thing was. I picked the machete because I can use it for self-defense. I can cut branches and shit for firewood. I can also kill animals potentially to eat them. Um, and she's like, but the fire starter would help you actually have a fire. I'm like, the fire could also deter animals that you want to eat. So we jokingly had a compromise. I'm like, I'll bring the machete, you bring the fire starter. So there's two of our items. For a third one, you know what? You know what? I might say a crossbow because a crossbow. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you would know better than me. I think a crossbow would be easier to aim than a bow and arrow.
Mm, yeah, I mean, you also have to take into consideration crossbow you're holding, just like you would like a rifle. So it can get a little heavy out there. Compounds are actually, or recurves are much more light. But crossbow, yeah, and you usually get more, uh, feet per second off the firing on your firing rate. So like with a standard compound, like my compound is sent to 80-pound draw, and I think my crossbow is like 120. So that crossbow bolt is like it's firing almost as quickly as like a 22. So
I know when I was a kid, when we used to bowl, so one of the guys who was a regular, this dude Johnny, he brought in his actual bow and arrow, and this was, and I'm sure you've probably, if you don't own one, I'm sure you've had exposure to one. This was more one of the tactical type bow and arrows, and it's a very, very, very taut string. But once you get it back to a certain point, it's super fucking easy, and like anybody, it takes a certain amount of strength to get it to a certain point, but once you get there, anybody can pull it the rest of the way.
yeah,
It was really fucking cool.
I think I go with a ferro rod for starting fires. Definitely like a machete or an axe of some sort. Um, probably a hatchet more than an axe. And I don't know, the third one's a tough one. I might just say because we can't have a sat phone on this one. Um, I'd probably say like fishing line because then I could set snares for animals, or I can use it for fishing, or I can tie up stuff for shelter.
Did you ever used to watch any of those Survivor shows like Bear Grylls or Survivor Man and any of that?
I The wife and I watch Alone, where they send like 10 people out in the wilderness to basically do it by themselves, set up shelter, and just randomly drop them somewhere in Canada.
So we used to watch this one. So he was running at the same time as Bear Grylls, and I think it was one of those things where like they're not officially competing, but they're competing. Um, Now here's the difference. I always liked Bear Grylls because he's actually showing you how to survive. Like he'll show you how to hunt. He'll show you like how to set traps, this, that, and the other. And he does eventually try to show you like this is your best way to get out of here. The other dude, Survivor Man, I don't remember the guy's name, but that was the show, Survivor Man. He would just fucking deal with it. Like he'll just sit there. Like I remember one time he's like, it's been 3 days since I've eaten. I'm starting to pay for it right now. I'm like, nobody fucking told you not to eat. Like, go find something. Jesus Christ. One time he drove a snowmobile out into the tundra, probably in Canada or maybe Greenland. I don't know. It was one of those. He just drove it out until it died. And then he's supposed to make his way back. Probably the only thing that I remember he did, which was actually not a bad idea. He cut the leather off of the seat of the snowmobile and he used that for his eyes to prevent sunburn on his eyes. Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And that's probably the one thing that I hate the most about wintertime. And when I say wintertime, I mean an actual fucking winter with snowfall, not just cold temperatures. But when it's a pure white snow, Jesus fuck is that bright. Because you have the sun coming, you have the sun up here reflecting off the fucking snow down here. And I'm like, I can't look anywhere.
All right. What hobby do you wish you were good at?
Oh, that's easy. Playing guitar. Like I bought that guitar off Ray 2-3 years ago now, something like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to learn it, but my problem is that I have a hard time sitting down and focusing on anything, which is a lot of reason why I don't read like I used to. I wanted to learn. Some of y'all are not going to be a fan. I do like Creed. I wanted to learn their song Lullaby. It is all acoustic guitar. I wanted to learn More Than Words. It was done by, I believe it was Extreme.
Yep.
And Frankie J did a remix, which I really liked. There was a couple other ones. Like I really wanted to learn. Oh, and I want to learn Johnny Cash's Hurt. And the thing is, Johnny Cash's Hurt is so simple. Like if I actually take time to learn it, I know that I can. I just haven't taken time to.
Yeah. I think I'd like to be better at leather work. And with that in there, some scrimshaw so I can do some bone work too. But definitely leather work. I got all the tools for it. I just don't find time to actually get in there and practice it. Plus I'd make a killing right before Renaissance festivals. So
it's funny you mention that because I know one thing I would like to get. So I bought my wife. I kind of expected this. This was off of, of course, Wish years ago. They advertised it as a leather shoulder piece and corset. They only sent us the shoulder piece, which I should not have been surprised considering what they were charging for it, which it was Wish. It was next to nothing. Now, shoulder piece was not bad. It doesn't look bad at all, but she's not going to wear that by itself. So I kind of still want to. She's not going to wear it out by itself. But I wish I had went back and gotten a leather corset. So yeah, something like leather work. Oh, that would have been great because then we could have gotten something like we're not settling for something we find in the store. We can get like 100% what we want if we know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, plus the leather working would come in handy if we were stranded on an island so.
Yeah.
All right. And our last one. Name brand versus store brand.
This has been one of the hardest realizations of my adulthood is that I have found that at least 60% of the time, there is a correlation between price and quality. So the name brand, a lot of times I have found is actually better. We'll go with Tide, for example. Tide is actually a better detergent. 100% it is. There are exceptions though. Actually, this isn't just an Ohio thing. Anybody who has an Aldi's in their area, almost all of us I shouldn't say exclusively, but we almost universally love to shop at Aldi because it's reasonably priced. The thing is, I didn't know this for a long time. Aldi does take name brand shit and slap their own label on it. I don't know how they do that and still make money, but they do. I had somebody who applied to an Aldi's years ago, and she told me like Aldi's chicken is Tyson chicken. So yeah, I don't know how they can do that and not lose money, but they do. They just take the label off and put their own on.
Well,
So
I think other places like Kroger and Walmart actually do the same thing. They'll have like major manufacturers make stuff for them, and they just slap like Kroger or Walmart label or Meyer or something like that on there.
But now sometimes the store brand is okay. Cereals are a good example where a lot of times like I just do not taste a difference or I don't taste enough of a difference to give a fuck the one way or the other. So cereals are one, Pop Tarts, little shit like that. Um, but again, something like Tide, yeah, that actually does matter. So I have found it's a mixed bag, but about 60% of the time, to my chagrin, because they do cost more, the name brand does typically seem a little bit better. I
Yeah,
don't care when it comes to clothes though. Like this is a Gildan. Like I have Gildan t-shirts, red, blue, white, but I have a Hanes red t-shirt, which is it doesn't look any different. The only difference is that maybe this is a little bit thicker.
okay. For me, I'm kind of on the fence because I love the price of the store brand merchandise, but I don't know. For me, it depends on items. You mentioned cereal, but the one difference in cereal that I do recognize between name brand and store brand is frosted mini wheats. Name brand much better than store brand. And again, it's probably just my palate and stuff like that. So, but there are some things that I will buy that have to be name brand. But it all depends on the items. Like if I'm buying automotive stuff, like oil for the car,
That's fair.
I'm not gonna buy the store brand oil, even though it's probably fine. But it's just one of those things. After having worked on cars for like 4 years, your third party or your store brand stuff just doesn't seem to be of the same quality. But food wise, yes, especially if you're on a tight budget, store brand all the way. With like the frosted mini wheats, I can deal with the difference in taste and stuff like that. But there are certain things like because I can't drink, regular milk, I drink the almond milk. I have noticed a difference between name brand and store brand almond milk.
That makes sense.
So, but yeah, I mean, store brand pretzels all day long because they're usually 10, at Kroger, like 10 for 10. And it's like, hell yeah, I'm buying up 5 bags of this shit. So,
Although one I will say 100% has to be like a mid to higher tier or mid to higher brand is shoes. Has
oh
to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
And I'll even quote something. This is something I heard somebody say once. It was a streamer, but even he said like somebody else gave him this. Never skimp on the things that separate you from the floor. So we're talking about your shoes, we're talking about your bed, we're talking about any furniture that you sit on. And I'm now in my later 30s. I have learned over and over in my life that cheap couches are cheap for a reason. Um, so I don't
Sorry,
like
Broyhill.
I don't like paying like literal like it can be thousands of dollars for a furniture set, but sometimes that is what it takes for it to last longer than 3 fucking years. Shoes. Nike makes great fucking shoes. They really do. I don't always want to pay for it, and sometimes if I want to save money, I'll actually get Adidas, which are just fine. I actually love my Adidas. Right now I'm wearing some old K-Swiss. They're fine.
Yeah,
But like New Balance, probably not. And it's not a knock to them. I mean, I might get New Balance if I was like just as gym shoes. I might do that.
yeah,
But if I was an athlete, like if I played basketball, like as a hobby or even professionally, fuck no, I wouldn't buy New Balance.
yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like when I was running the obstacle course races before I retired. I had my trail shoes, which were from Alta. Yeah, which are great shoes for running, but my in the gym training shoes, Brooks. And I will spend $150 to $175 on a pair of shoes. Why? Because I need to walk. I need to be able to walk, and I need, something comfortable. And for me, those were the two shoes, for what I was doing that worked. So it's like I will drop $150 on a pair of Brooks any day.
Yeah. And I'll even take it. I'll take it another direction. Still talking about shoes is dress shoes. Um, I have I have bought dress shoes from fucking. I don't even think Payless exists anymore, but I've gotten dress shoes from them before. They worked for their purpose, which was usually one, two, three, four, five interviews. But if you wear those on a regular basis for anything longer than about a year, those shoes will fucking die horribly. But meanwhile, if I go get actual name brand shoes, they will last me a good while. So, yeah. So shoes is probably the one, like, I will die on that hill. They do have to be name brand because they are a certain quality.
Yep. All right, that concludes our word association. And I do have some news for you regarding Rings of Power.
Yeah, so I have not heard anything. So yeah, this will be completely new to me.
So the CEO has come out. So it looks like we might be getting a season 3. Right now, nothing is in concrete, but they have. It's weird because nothing is concrete about it, but they have started working on scripting and some of the production for season
Okay.
3 until there's a final word about it. And apparently, it's one of the better streaming shows on Amazon Prime right now, given the backlash that it has been getting. So people that do enjoy it tune in to watch it, and people that hate it apparently tune in to watch it too, just so they can have something to hate about. I did find out that it was originally, when pitched, it was originally supposed to have 5 seasons. Of course, we're still stuck with like 8 episodes a season. We're not going to get on that boat again. But yeah, so it looks like there is a chance that a season 3 of Rings of Power will be happening.
I think we've talked about this before. I think we 100% need one. 5 seasons might be stretching things a little bit. I don't know if they have that much story to tell. Um, I think the only way that they could do 5 seasons is if we go all the way up to the last alliance where they sieged Mordor and Barad-dûr, which would be really cool. I would like to see that, but I don't need it.
Yeah. Well, when you spend $1 billion on the rights
Jesus fuck.
to do this show, you better see it through to the fucking end.
Well, and that's the other thing is that I think some of this has to do with just the internet in general, social media, things like that. I think that societally that we have lost a lot of our patience because Rings of Power, I think, has gotten better. Like between the pilot episode till the most recent finale, I think that it's ramped up. It has gotten better. There are things that I wish they hadn't changed. Again, I've talked about the timeline. They've skewed that. They did change Gandalf's origins a little bit because in Tolkien's lore, Gandalf just came across the sea. And I think it was Círdan, I believe, who just handed his ring to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they've changed some of Gandalf's origins a little bit, but it's not all been bad because, as I mentioned before, now we have a reason why Gandalf has this affection for halflings. Um, in the original books, in the original movies, he just likes them and nobody fucking knows why. Well, other than the leaf.
The heat, the feet. He likes the feet.
So this gave him a reason because the halflings took him in and cared for him. So he's going to care for them. This gave a reason for that. Um, Speaking of which, we didn't talk about this before. I really want to know who that other wizard is in Rune. He looks like Saruman, but I know he's not.
Yeah. No, I would like to know too, because I haven't gotten any speculations on that, and I've been trying to keep up on that as well, and I've not seen anything come across what people have been saying. So I'll have to do a deeper dive.
Well, and the thing is I think he is either an original character or he is not who he appears to be. Because for those of you who don't know, there were 5 Istari / wizards. There was Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and the 2 blue wizards that nope, even Gandalf doesn't remember their names. This dude is clearly not a blue wizard because he's not wearing any of that. Now, the color pattern of his beard does look like a much younger Saruman, but had that been Saruman, then I think Gandalf would have been a little bit more sus come the War of the Ring in the movies.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not the same dude. And plus, he doesn't have the same staff, which that was a really cool touch. When he picked up his staff and it has the same gnarled look
Yeah.
to it that he has as Gandalf the Great. That was a really nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
But getting back to my point though is I think people need to be a little bit more patient. Just as they like to say these days, let them cook. It started off a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it did. But over time, it has gotten much better. Like those last couple of episodes of season 2, where you're watching Eregion getting fucking wrecked. It was great. And then you see Celebrimbor just in this stupor, in this enchantment. He is completely oblivious to his city literally falling apart all around him, but he's in his bubble where everything is preserved. It was fucking cool. And then once that spell is broken, we get to see a little bit of Sauron's vindictiveness and cruelty. It's not the full extent. Oh, also, yeah, and we're getting the hunt for Gollum. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is returning for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
Fuck. Hugo Weaving's not. But
Well, in regards to Hugo Weaving, I know he's got some medical issues, which keeps his ability to do some filming or any type of acting limited.
I was not aware of that.
I cannot remember what he was diagnosed with, but I do know there was. This was like maybe a couple weeks ago. I read something about Hugo Weaving and having some kind of, I don't want to say disability, but some kind of illness that keeps his acting limited.
Well, I've noticed, maybe this is why. I've noticed he has a thing where he is not necessarily returning to certain franchises. He didn't come back for The Matrix, which it made sense. I understood it. And my complaint there, not going down the rabbit hole, the guy that they recast for Smith is fucking great in Mindhunter. I loved him in that. And I think he could have done a really, really good approximation of Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith, but they totally changed his personality, and I don't like that. He didn't return to Marvel to play Red Skull, which he's talked about he didn't really enjoy his experience with them, which I would like to get more history behind that. I'm kind of wondering what happened, but
I think some of it had to do with the prosthetics that were being put on.
okay, that's fair. I know I've heard that complaint so many times. Jennifer Lawrence hated dressing as Mystique, which I would have too. Props to Rebecca Romaine. She stayed in that fucking makeup chair for like what, 12, 13 hours?
Yeah.
And when Jennifer Lawrence won the bodysuit, honestly, why didn't y'all do the bodysuit from Jump? That made a lot more sense. Heath Ledger is the Joker. For those of y'all who don't know this, when he's licking his lips, that's a tick he developed because the prosthetics were so uncomfortable. Like when he's doing that, that wasn't an in-character thing. That's him being annoyed with the prosthetics, but it happened to work for the character. So yeah, I could understand Hugo Weaving not liking the aesthetics for the Red Skull. They did get around it because number one, he did 2 scenes total between Infinity War and Endgame, and Ross Marquand is a phenomenal impressionist. He really is.
You ever see him do his Matthew McConaughey ordering at Chick-fil-A?
I don't think I've seen that one.
He's like, let's see. Should I go with the dark meat or should I go with the all white?
I'll have to look that up. I know I've seen a couple of videos which they surfaced because he was doing Walking Dead and he was getting a lot more popularity. Like he just has a video doing like a bunch of impressions. I remember Liam Neeson being one of them, which is really fucking good. There's a few different ones. Like Ross Marquand is great. The comedian Godfrey is another good one. He does one of Jason Statham that I absolutely love. Um, I don't know if you were there for this. During one of our last table readings with Valmont, we were talking about how one of the characters was reading. I don't remember the character, but somebody said it reminded them a lot of Jason Statham. And I brought up there's a clip of Godfrey. He's on a radio show with Jason Statham, and he does a Jason Statham impression right in front of him, and it's fucking hilarious. He's like, I love your movies, but I can never hear you. You always talk so fucking quiet. It's like, I kind of want to see him do a movie called The Librarian. And then he could just go over to a couple of guys, you never told you to be fucking quiet. And here you are still fucking talking. And like, honestly, it was a really good impression. It was like 90% there.
Yeah, like every time I see a picture of Jason Statham, I can't help but try to like speak in his voice. He's like, I know right now you're looking at a picture of me and you're reading these words and you're using my voice. But you know, that's cool. We're okay with that. Just keep going.
I think just going on that tangent just for a hair. For a long time, I think it's just a bald white dude doing action movies. For some reason, I would always keep approximating Jason Statham to Bruce Willis. But here's the difference: is that I love the Die Hard movies. Well, I love the first 3 Die Hard movies. But let's be real. John McClane was just a lucky son of a bitch. He's not actually that fucking good. He just happens to. He gets very fucking lucky. He really does.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Jason Statham is, well, his characters is that good. He will fucking whoop your ass.
He's trained in martial arts and stunt driving and being a stuntman. So he's actually got the resume that says he is one kick-ass fucking dude. I mean, I would actually like to see a Tom Hardy, Jason Statham collaboration of some point, and whether one of them is the villain and the other one's the hero, or they're both heroes, or they're both villains. I would just love to see those two together, because it's like, you got Jason Statham over here and you got Tom Hardy over here, because I mean Tom Hardy, brilliant actor. Statham, actually very gifted and talented actor. But the thing with Tom Hardy is, like, there were some movies I'd watch him in, and I don't know if he was using a voice or if that was his natural voice. And a lot of it was like just more mumbling and run on. But then when I hear him, like, in the Venom series movies, and then, I hear him in, hardly had any talking lines in Mad Max, but even then it was like, you can understand him. Even with the mask on. Yeah, even with the mask on as Bane, you understood him. But it's just one of those things that's like, even when he was, playing Shinzon, in Star Trek, the clone to Picard, it's one of those things you can understand him. And he just, every single one of these roles he's friggin' nailed, and everything Statham's been giving him. And yes, it might be more, action, type based movies that he does, but with what he's given, he's doing well with. So I would love to see them both together.
Well, and also to Statham's credit, the comedic timing is actually really good. Whenever he shares a scene with The Rock, I think I didn't watch Hobbs and Shaw, but the last Fast and Furious that I watched, I believe, was 8. When him and The Rock are in prison talking shit to each other, it is fucking hilarious. Their banter, their back and forth. I loved it. But also, since you were talking about Tom Hardy, I was just going to mention, if any of y'all want to see a fucking phenomenal acting performance from Tom Hardy, watch Warrior with him and Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton too. Edgerton's fucking good.
Yeah.
when I found out that Edgerton both I believe wrote and directed The Gift, I'm like, dude, you need to do this more often. Like he wrote, directed, starred in it, and he is so creepy in The Gift. Like Joel Edgerton will make your skin crawl. But Warrior is a fucking amazing performance from both of them. My only two things about Warrior is that it is a little bit more brutal than what MMA really truly is. And I feel like the movie flew under the radar because UFC and MMA wasn't quite there yet. It was on their way, but they hadn't quite gotten a lot of mainstream attention yet. So I think the movie flew under the radar. And secondly, my other criticism, Joel Edgerton's character is an underdog and presented as such, and he every single fight is a come from behind victory. Even now, his character was a UFC washout, and at the beginning of the movie, he's a school teacher, but he does fights on the side to earn a little bit of extra money. And even in those fights, he gets his ass kicked and has a come from behind victory. I'm like, dude, you're going to kick someone's ass. Like he gets his ass whooped in every single he's like Wolverine in the first X-Men. He wins every fight, but he gets his ass whooped for a good chunk of it.
I want to circle back a little bit. You had mentioned Valmont, the Black Raven Chronicles.
Yes.
Part of the audio story that Eli and I are both voice characters for, along with other great talents. So that will be coming out December 1st, will be episode 1. I know Eli has a little bit more information, and right now he is getting into his Leslie Chuckle Salmon.
Well, I probably should do a little bit more practice with the voice. I wasn't doing it right now. I was just wearing it for aesthetic purposes. But yes, so Sunday, December 1st is when it's coming out. As a cast, we were talking about doing kind of a listening party. So by all means, check out the author, Jonathan Phoenix, aka Carolina Storyteller, which also me and you have talked about this a few times. I really do enjoy working with him, and I like that he is a very collaborative author, because he does write the story, he does write the characters, the dialogue, etc., etc. But when you have input, he's very receptive to it, and he does let it be incorporated as however it works naturally. He's been really good to work with. But as I said, we are talking about doing a watch party. What I had pitched, we may or may not do this, is that I might go live on TikTok and actually listen to it, and all of the other folks who are on TikTok who are mutuals, including Pitt here, could just go live with me. So like we'll listen to it possibly through my feed or whatever, but then we'll have Jackie, possibly, Jonathan, Edel is on there. I don't remember the name, but in Discord, she's listed as smart ass mommy. They just added me on TikTok. So I'm getting a good chunk of them. Oh, and Corey, the titular character.
Yeah, we definitely need Corey.
Yeah, which also I really do like Corey in the role. He does have a good voice for this. He especially has a good voice for the internal dialogue. Because with a Frank Valmont being the title character, it is not being told from a first person point of view, but we are getting his internal thoughts and dialogue along with the external. And his voice, his delivery is really fucking good for the internal stuff. It really does work.
Well, it's probably also that Shure microphone helping him out too.
That could work too. But yes, so just wanted to go ahead and remind you guys that is coming out. We'll go ahead and put a link in the description here for Carolina Storyteller, his website and everything. Also, if you wish to subscribe to his Patreon, not only will you get early release on the episodes, you will get access to some of the table reads, some of the cast interviews, which I think you still need to do one.
No, I've done it.
Really? They didn't post the link? How long ago?
3, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Really? Jackie,
yeah.
I don't think posted that.
No, I think Jackie might be holding on to that because technically my character is not introduced until episode 3, maybe 4.
Well, also, I think Jackie was lagging a little bit as far as the editing, and of course, Jackie is in South Carolina, so she got
Yeah.
hit with the hurricanes. That didn't help. I think she's in a better spot now though. But yeah, by all means, go ahead and check that out. Also, you may get a couple little fun tidbits because I know just for fun that I did go back and record a couple of my lines in a Peter Griffin voice. Um, what was the other one I did? Oh yeah, I did my best approximation of Alexander Anderson from Helsing Abridged, which it's a generic Irish accent, but I had fun with it.
All right, yeah. So that's Valmont, the Black Raven Chronicles by Jonathan Phoenix. We'll put up all the information again. Uh, First episode drops December 1st, but remember you can get on that Patreon, as Eli said. Right now, we're going to get out of here because we need more coffee. So thank you for listening to Men Behind the Curtain, and we will see you next Friday.
Y'all have
Take
a
care,
good one.
everybody.
Take care.